So, we go again. Welcome back, those who are joining me again, number 76 of the Darkness to Light Godcast. Myself, Jim McFadyen, here in the Vortex Centre for Wellbeing. And this one, number 76, is called The Last Days of Winter. Felt this last week in Scotland, the kind of light is definitely starting to be longer. It's starting to come through in different ways. Places certainly brighter. It's been a brilliant winter. It's been a good winter. It's not been a kind of a harsh winter. There's only been a couple of occasions where I kind of really felt like a proper kind of one of the winter days that you probably dread a wee bit in Scotland, where it's damp and just, drake's the word, and freezing at the same time. It seems to get right through you in different ways. There's not been a lot of that this winter. I've only had maybe 1 or 2 days where I've kind of felt that. And for the best part, it's been kind of dry. And it's been a great winter in terms of the work that's been able to get done by myself, my wife as well. The work that she's done over winter time has been incredible. Really inspiring to be running about and to watch in so many different ways. And also, many people run about this work and run about the programme and the Vortex. The changes that have been made really significantly. Coming at the other side, they probably back into Christmas, into January time, and then for the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, there's been an addition to the work that I'm doing with the programme members, and it's a weekly. It's called the Club, and it's a weekly kind of get together, and the desire is to get a whole group of people and get everybody to be rising at the same time, by getting people to take accountability, to be responsible, to really kind of do what's required to reach that place that is available to everybody. And that's what it's been about, and watching people after Christmas time. Christmas is a difficult time. It's a hard time for many in so many different ways. And even if it's a great time, what you normally end up with in January time, it normally isn't the best version of yourself because of the excess and time to let your hair done would probably be the best way to put it. So January time is always kind of difficult, and just watching how quick people have get back on it again and getting back up to speed. And the fact how many of us within this work, just now within this work within the Vortex, how many people are kind of lining up at the same time, a really significant time and a really profound time for us as a species, mankind, here on this planet. And the last days of winter, as well as being the thoughts of the last kind of couple of weeks and feeling there's definitely been a change and we're kind of starting to move towards spring. Great when you get into February time, and then it's like March is just run about the corner. It can be a long winter up here in Scotland. Definite lack of sunlight, definite lack of heat and warmth in your bones, and even just the sun in your skin can change your life. So it's nice to kind of get to this point when you start to get a wee bit excited. The snowdrops were out. We're up at Carmichael Estate last week, myself and Jill, and the snowdrops are out. So that's the start of it. I think things definitely starting to shift, and feeling energy within myself. That's been a massive change. And my girl just going out with my dog. That's been a massive change for myself over the winter time. The amount of movement that I've done, really training again for the first time in the last 6 years, where I've really kind of was forced to stop, I think, to allow this work to come through. I was putting 25 to 30 hours a week into myself between, martial arts, karate, jiu-jitsu, latterly, and then, all the other stuff that I was doing, the training, running, the triathlon stuff, over the years, like training for 3 Ironmen back-to-back, full-distance Ironmen. It was 25, 30 hours a week, plus everything else that I was doing, with the martial arts stuff as well. So it was a time for me to stop, and over the winter time, it was time for me to go again. And it's been a brilliant process, the whole thing. It's been the last probably year or so, but I've really kind of started taking ownership and taking, responsibility for my own physical well-being, which is something I never really had to consider before. But as I'm getting older, then there's definitely been changes, and I think over the last year, there's been significant changes where I'm getting dis-ease within my body for the first time in different ways. I've always been sore, I believe, since that very first vaccine when I was 13. Other significant vaccine that changed my life. I've been injured and sore since then in one way, shape or form. Again, because my nervous system's been hyperstimulated, whatever was in, that injection, and what it did to my body in terms of what the body's been fighting against. add into it so many other things in terms of where the inflammation comes from and the stress and the strain, and there's so many different bits to it. But the kind of this last wee bit, getting moving again and being at this stage that I'm at, and really kind of seeing what it is that I want to do, because that's always been changing as well. I've no desire to do the things that I did before. I'm at a different point in my life. This work is everything to me now. Taking this mission and this vortex, the way we're doing it and how it's being fed out in different areas now, that takes up my whole life, more or less. So I don't have the time or the inclination to be doing the way I used to do it. So then a different way needs to come in, depending on where you're at the stage in your life. And for me, it's been back to the ancient ways. Tai Chi is back in my life. Qigong is back in my life. Yoga moves, not yoga in terms of any strict following yoga. There's certain things that I've done forever for the last 30 years that are the exact same as yoga moves. They came for football, and it came for all the different stuff that I've done in terms of martial arts, and there's definitely yoga in there as well. So there's a whole mix of different things that I've been doing, all with the intention to get my energy flowing, all with the intention to get my chi flowing in a different way. Really significantly, the benefits that I've felt. More energy, definitely clearer. My sleep has been incredible. My body is absolutely starting to heal. And it's a slow process, but it's a really enjoyable process, and it's one that I'm, learning as I'm going and expanding, and always with the idea of, to get it for yourself and then to pass it on and to pay it forward. Especially with the people that run about me just now. I'm probably 10, 15 years run about the average. People that are attracted to this are normally kind of. It can be earlier, there's early 20s, but people that really stick around about it are normally those that have been through the wars a wee bit, and they normally find like late 20s and into their 30s, and sometimes even later. So I'm a good 15 years in front of even the oldest ones within the group. Some are a wee bit closer. There's one or two that are actually older than me, which is great, and a lot of common grounds there in terms of the stuff that we're going through, being in your 50s and into your 60s. Now it's how the body, absolutely deteriorates in this environment we're in, and then the challenge that I faced, and then what you can do about it. That's what it's about, isn't it? So for me, movement and adding in the breathwork, which is something I absolutely have brought back in. I've been teaching it for years now, and always lacked and missed, getting it for myself, like getting somebody else to take me through that. So I've been doing a lot of breathwork with the movement, primarily Qigong and Tai Chi. That's been my main two kind of the focuses, the internal arts, the kind of soft arts, which feeds right into my martial arts training. The cultivation of energy, the cultivation of life force and chi, whether it's coming up through the earth and Mother Nature, or what you're literally breathing in, that inspiration, that literal spirit you're breathing into your body, and the impact that can have, with the power of intention and a wee bit of training, and just practice, just making it fun and doing it every single day. I've never missed a single day, and it's been every day for probably the last year in one way, shape or form, but the last 6 months it's been like, I'm really doing this, I'm loving it, and I'm getting the benefits from it, and deciding I'm going to bring it back into my life, even to the part where I've started training martial arts again, which I never saw coming. I've been back to the traditional karate, was what I trained in. Not the free form fighting, that never interested me, but the actual the kata, the interpretation of the moves. You slow it right down, the way the energy again is cultivated, and the benefits that it has within your body. And there's been something nice about, getting back into fighting again. Even just myself, like thinking about the different combinations and the techniques, and how they feed into the breath, and how they make everything better. Your physical body's better, and you're feeling stronger, and you're more in alignment from a physical sense. When the key's running a certain way, and you do certain techniques, then it changes your life. It really does. It's so empowering. And jiu-jitsu is on the horizon. That's definitely something. That's a goal. I'd love to go and join a club, but I'm feared in terms of certainly not just now. It might be 6 months down the road. There's a lot more I need to do. I still need to put the foundations in place. I'd need to be doing by just the bodyweight stuff that I'm doing just now, to protect myself and protect my joints and protect, because I need to go to work. I need to be able to walk down the stairs. I can't have it like I had before, where I tore my knee. Only weeks at jiu-jitsu, broke my toe, tore my knee in half. I thought I broke my neck, which was much to do with the dojo that I trained at. That was my ignorance and a really steep learning curve. So to do it in a different way at 54 now, and that's definitely in here, in learning online, as well as training with my son who trains in jiu-jitsu, and somebody that's not going to hurt me or doesn't want to kill me or doesn't want to prove or test their latest theory and prove that they can beat me at fighting. Some monster in their 20s or 30s. I've done that. It's too sore, and there's too much at stake for me just now. So to learn in a safe environment, the pads are coming back out. Focus mitts and just moving again because I enjoy it. I really enjoy the benefits from that. And interestingly enough, this conversation the last days of winter and the me getting back into fighting, and I don't mean fighting like physically fighting, but preparing for not for that, but preparing myself the best I can in that way. Because the war is on just now, there's no question about it. And the last days of winter, this topic of this podcast is mainly about how the world is changing and how we're moving from the darkest days of, maybe not the darkest days we've ever seen, but certainly the darkest days in my life time, which has been the last 54 years or something. Since in terms of going back to 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that the people can remember that are still alive. There's never been times like this in terms of what's happening to the world, what's coming out within the world. So grateful for social media. You think that the possible and probable intention that was to control us and to see what we're up to and just again program's the best word, because even better than the television, if you're carrying that phone about with you and you're locked into it, as so many people are, it's got your everything. Many people, especially the Waynes, they're basically it's an extension of them. So to see what they can feed into that and how they do it with all the different algorithms and how the programs literally are fed in, both at a conscious and unconscious level, then to think now how it's been, not how it's been used as a whole, but the good that's coming through it, because this time that we are in, for the longest time now, I've always felt that there's going to be a massive change and a massive shift in my lifetime. That's kind of what I've been preparing for the last 29 years. Even though I didn't know it in the beginning, but the work that I've been doing and the processes that I've been through for the last nearly 3 decades, and now what I'm teaching and sharing and passing on to people and what they're getting from it, is it's the only way that we get through what's coming up in our lifetime. It's here just now. It's already, Babylon is and has fallen, and if they don't come down now, in terms of the information that's going about in the world, with all of them, that entire club, between obviously the politicians, they're first in line because they influence at some level what happens in the world. What takes place. Normally in the most specific way, in funds and money and who gets what, what contracts are awarded to who, and how the money that is paid by the people and is generated, within the land that you live in, how that's distributed, and it's normally sold as for the good of the many in terms of, the people that live within that land. But what we've known forever, and even more so, certainly the last 10, 15 years since I've been interested in it, is how much it's manipulated to benefit the few. And it's absolutely detrimental and negative to the many in so many different ways, in terms of how they control it, how the controllers, the owners, whoever they are, however they control it, it's a time where, because of what's been happening, not just in America, but because of what's happening in the world, this time of, really almost like a spiritual revolution coming through, and a time where things are moving from the darkness of the world into a new way of living and being, like back into the light of what the possibilities of how it was meant to be, then it's such a great time to be alive, and it's an exciting time to be alive. And for me, it's like looking at it and watching what's happening. The evidence of how bad it's been and how bad it is, and the negative effect on the many. You just need to look at society and see where we're at. The amount of people I know that are really struggling, that are victims from, I call it casualties of war, what they've been through in their childhood, what they've experienced, whether it was directly to them or in their environment, or what somebody else has done to them, or what they've seen done to others, and how how, again, that negative impact, which can be decimating, depending on, the level of what you see and how you experience it and how it goes into your body, how it can get literally linked into your nervous system, right into your heart and into your soul, can literally break your heart and separate you from that, and at the same time can break your fucking soul for some people, and separate you from that, and a lot of that is done by design. A lot of I think back to the sexualisation of children, something I've spoke about a lot in here, and the own negative impact that had on myself when I was young, like being exposed to things in all different ways, whether it's pornography or, and thank God we never had like social media, or, the lunacy of, what they're now teaching kids in terms of that whole subject, but even just to be exposed to it at a young age, and in certain situations, and you would see things, and then my own negative experiences of, absolutely, the sexual stuff that I experienced, and I saw at different stages in life, way too young, and such a, what it leaves you in terms of how the damage that it does, and then how you get beyond that, and how you make sense of that, and how it changes, who you become as a human being. There's so many different ways and so many negative ways that the controllers, the owners, understanding, human beings in terms of our nature, and the stuff that literally holds us down, the stuff that suppresses us, then to see what's been done over the years, and to see the amount that have been, like, really almost many of them taken out by it, in terms of they're no longer here, whether it was through their own means, through suicide, or whether it just became too much, and they ran out of life force, because of what they've been through. You add into this life how difficult it is already, and you add in a lifetime of stress and worry and a switched on nervous system that's experienced some sort of trauma or some sort of abuse or hardship, or whatever it is, then lives are absolutely shortened every single day. None more so than the last 5 or 6 years since COVID. My mum, God rest and bless her soul, is 6 years. It's Valentine's Day that she passed. And you think it what happened off the back of that, with COVID and, the medications that were getting, not just thrown about, but like the amount of people that were bullied, into taking, the vaccines. And it's crazy to think that was only in the last kind of 4 or 5 years, that people have been shamed. And some of them terrorised because of not taking this thing into their arm. And you look at the evidence of the amount of people that there's no coincidence. The amount of people that died young, the amount of people that had heart attacks, the amount of professional athletes, like elite athletes in their teens and in their 20s and in their 30s, dying from so many different heart conditions that weren't there before. So there's something's happened, there's something's taken place, and now when you start to see the evidence that coming out in terms of the relationships of who benefited again for the money, like who was the ones that benefited from it in those times in so many different levels. It's again the entitled ones, those that are born in to a certain level, the controlling classes, and the schools that they go to and how they're brought up and what they're literally brainwashed. I mean, it's not their fault. They've been born into the wrong house. They've been born into the wrong environment, the wrong level of society, which is the controlling ruling classes, who are really just puppets to whoever it is above them. And I'm not talking about the monarchy. They've got their own problems. They've got enough problems, the kings and the queens and at that level. But it's again above that. Who is it that controls the world? Who are the leaders and the owners that decide what happens to us, the kind of peasants, the working classes? And the great thing for me just now is watching it, because I've never always worried about it, that'd be wrong to say, but I had a one eye on it and concerned when I really saw through the veil, and I remember the day that I realised that every single thing that I knew was wrong, everything, when I saw through the music industry and I saw through films, that whole Hollywood thing, and you see the children's programmes, and you see what the subliminal stuff and the stuff that was hidden within, it would break your heart. It would literally break your heart. I think back to the amount of times we would watch the movies with the kids, just sitting there as like innocent human beings thinking it was all goodness because it was coming through Disney or Pixar or whoever it was, and then when you start to see some of the stuff that they would put in it many years later on, and you're like, holy fuck, like, ignorance is certainly bliss. It really is. And the way that it was set up and the way that it was done, and excuse me a wee second. The way the world is controlled and the darkness that's in it, I think just now we need to understand. People need to realise like what's when I say the war is on and who you're fighting against. The dark side of the force is probably way more not terrifying, but you think about Star Wars and the Emperor and all that kind of stuff, and you think of the world just now in terms of who they. Who they look up to, the dark side, who they serve. It's so many of them caught in that trap, like born into it, living it. That's the way of doing things, so they can maintain control, so they can maintain, everything that they want to keep for themselves, keep all the good stuff to themselves. And the worry was like the power that they've got. Even the ones that control the military, and control the weapons and control the nuclear weapons, that has been the worry for the last couple of years, hasn't it? That's all I've spoke about. The whole thing with Ukraine and Russia and America and China getting involved, and it's all about World War III. That's the big worry. There's enough nuclear weapons to wipe us all out, in a way that is irreparable, or you can't. Once you do it, once they hit the button, then you can't turn back. And the damage to the planet, for the next, 250,000 years, I reckon, like minimum. Before life could start to get back again, and then what happens to us as a species? God forbid that you actually live through that, if you're one of the ones that actually makes their way through it, and being left in a land with nice sun and the radiation, and what a horrible life experience. So that was always a worry for me, like how far will they take it? I started to see the stuff coming out in America. They were starting to all the Epstein stuff, which I'm not going to name specific or get into specific, who they are today. There's enough people doing that, and the truthers have got a certain place, but it's not where this is. I'm not interested in the truther side of it, or seeing every single day the amount of reporters, and that's what the other know, that these podcasts are reporters, basically dramatised, like circus watching reporters that are basically getting all their clickbait and all their everything they're getting from it, even the money from it, how they're remunerated, try and say that. But just basically reporting the drama, and it makes it worse. When you see it once and you see it how it is, then you need to do something about it. That's what I've always been. I came through it for a couple of years, and I used to try and convince people, because I could see through the veil, all the paedophilia stuff. And if you go back to 2016, 17, that's what I was at. The whole thing about the war on all of that and draining the swamp, as your man used to say. Trump, and I'd never been aware of him really up to that point. I kind of knew who he was, and I remember at the time like thinking, I wonder who this guy is, and I got a lot of flack for it. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't know what he stood for. And at the time I remember saying, well, we need to see like how he does. That was the first time I became interested in world politics, as he was talking about like draining the swamp and doing away with all of the deep state, as he called it. Isn't that ironic and funny now? Just like to think like how the world is, and so many of them. The amount of I watched news for the first time in probably 20 years. I would just to see where the world was. I was called to go and look at and see how bad it was. So I believed so I could do something about it. But for a couple of years, it was a dark place. Like watching it and seeing it and realising so many of them, like these icons, that whether it was on chat shows or in the films, the stars for the films, or the whole thing, it was the political side of it at the time, and then obviously the world, like religions and religious leaders, and it was a real it was a heavy going time for me in terms of getting through that. And I remember saying to Jill at the time, like, you need to see this, and she's like, fuck off. I don't want to see that. And again, it felt like it was my responsibility to look at it, so that one day I'd be able to do something about it. And then over the last couple of years, when all this stuff was coming out, all the Epstein stuff was coming out, then it's like, okay, so if they are hit and they get caught, and there is videos and evidence and a trail of information as to who these people really are, i.e. the truth comes out, then what they would do about it to stop or to reset us, in terms of the uprising of the truth. Because the system is there, and unfortunately we need it. We actually need the system that they've created. Maybe short term would be the best scenario, but we definitely need it. So to think the possibility, and I've watched them like talking about war all the time, all these like warmongers who, again, they benefit from it. In terms of the people that are, telling you to go to war, are normally some way connected to the contracts that have been handed out, and again, it's like jobs for the boys. They keep it amongst themselves, of course they do. But that worry, I think, just now has disappeared over the last couple of weeks, because we're now at a time with all this, and it's new every single day. And I do click in on occasion just for a laugh, just to see, because I love watching the circus come down, I must admit, because it is a circus, the whole thing. The celebrities, watching who people look up to, watching like who they revere, watching who's been sold as the way to do it, and there's so many of them. I could spend this podcast just naming the clowns, but I'll let you work out for yourself. And anybody that's in the circus, that's obviously one way of doing it, and to come into this world which is a circus, and it is a zoo, and it is a jungle, and to think the ones that are sold as a success, the ones that are that have made it, that have made it in terms of their fame and their fortune, and followers they've got, and the lifestyle that they lead, and when you see them and you see through them, and you can you get to see patterns with this work where you can see the truth. And you look in on them. The Beckhams would be a great one to look at. You look at the Beckhams, and I think, oh my God, that's just a fucking shame. Like who they became because of success, and because of and then how they are controlled puppets with everything that comes out their mouth, and how staged everything is. And you start to the stuff that's coming out with their kids and all that. It's like, it's a fucking shame. It's a shame, because they're good people. That they've just been tricked, and they've been caught in the net. I thank God I never played football for Manchester United. I made a joke last week, you would never have heard of David Beckham if I'd have played football, because I was a couple of years older than him, and it was like to have missed all of that, and then to have got this, what a gift for God. That vaccine was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it cost me a career in football, and I'm scared to think who I would have became, with all the trappings of money and ego, and all the things that would have been available. If I had kept scoring goals the way that I was doing when I was younger, it was like the world would have been my oyster, which is terrifying to think who I was, and even me like not having that level of freedoms that comes with all the money and all the doors that it obviously opens. It still almost cost me my life, just working as a joiner and wanting to be a professional DJ, for the age of 20 to 24. Again, like what I had to go through to experience like that isn't the way. Real success and what that actually means compared to what's sold to us, what the ego's idea of success is. Just fascinating watching the whole thing. So Babylon is fallen, it's coming down, the world is coming down. Please God, they just release everything. Let's have a clean, let's get out and have a clean slate. Let's just see everybody that's responsible, everybody that's guilty, everybody that's been doing all these like heinous crimes against humanity. Some of the things, and again, I believe that most of the stuff, the shocking stuff, isn't out yet. It's almost like they're warming you up if they're going to release them. So the real horrors, the real terrors of what these leaders, these people that literally run at a certain level and control much of the world, the people that you have voted for, when we see who they really are and we see the truth in terms of what they've been up to, then there kind of, and it's always going to have to have like taken. I always felt like it was going to take a massive shock. I always felt like a massive, like a world war, and people losing almost everything. To go, right, okay, that way doesn't work. So is there another way we can do this? And what is the divine way? What is the way in terms of the rules, in terms of how this planet has been set up? I always felt it was going to take something. Terrified and worried that that's what it was going to take, but always kind of felt it was going to be something as significant as that. And really looking at it now, this might be the way that we actually manage to avert and not go through the horrors of war and the loss that comes with that, and get them all out in the public and get them all out in the open and go, right, okay, so you can't do that anymore, and remove every single fucking one of them. And I don't mean do away with them in terms of kill them, but maybe stick them on that island and let them work it out for themselves. Maybe put a fence on about it so none of them can leave, and just let them do whatever it is that they do until the day that they die, but don't allow them to impact the outside world the way they've been doing that. That's what I feel is, that would be that would be an absolute result. That would be the lottery up. It's just to get every one of them once and for all. No stone unturned, get the truth out, have such an uprising of truth and light coming through with normal, like, real people, authentic people that are in the world, that are actually living in the world that they bastards are ruining. And, you know, at some point, this revolution that needs to take place, it's the truth that sets us free. So that needs to come from the people, that needs to come from, and I don't believe it's protest. I'm hoping there's enough good politicians with enough power that can basically go in, and this is all power versus force. So the force of that system, the satanic, evil, dark, whatever it is that they're up to, and the reasons that they're doing it, that's an inexhaustible system, because it takes work, it takes trickery, it takes sneakery. It's like the banking system, you know, the usury system. You know, you think what's involved in that, and all the different ways that they con you, you know, so that they can basically fucking take everything you've earned. The tax system's another way. You know, you look at the amount of different taxes that you pay, which it would be fine if that was going towards, you know, the betterment of humanity and the betterment of society and the betterment of the environment that we're in terms of, you know, the water supplies and the roads and the rivers, and, you know, if that money was put back into that. But you look at the money they waste, you know, sending money to wherever it is to fund and to fight a war that's got fucking nothing to do with us. Ukraine's a big one. Israel's the other one as well. How much money has went from UK taxpayers, you know, and went into these, like, companies to supply arms, and then who benefit? Again, follow the money. Who benefits from that? You know, so that takes sneakery and it takes trickery, and fascinating times as well. What's going on within Israel? You know, how all that's coming out. You know, in terms of they're one of the biggest forces behind this, maybe the force behind this whole thing. So at that point, you're looking and you're going, this is coming down. The whole system is coming down. That entire way of living and being is done. There's no way that they can live through this. There's no way these politicians can fucking talk their way out of it and say, oh, it wasn't me. And even the ones that are coming in, it's like, because the thing that is so evident is how clearly and how cleanly they can lie, how they can stand up and basically say, this is what it is, this is who I am, you know, this is what happened, this is the truth. And then you find out because of evidence. You know, for the longest time I've always known, it doesn't matter what they actually say, it's what they do. You know, so I'm not interested in what you're telling me, because that's just, a lot of the times that's bullshit. And again, with Dr. Hawkins' training, power versus force, the ability to see through the veil, the ability to use kinesiology, and then your own guidance system, your feelings and your emotions. When you reach a certain level of consciousness, you start to know when somebody's telling the truth, and you can start to tell when somebody's telling lies. And for 99% of them, it's normally when their fucking lips move. That's when they're normally telling their lies. You know, so it's fascinating to watch, because the video that's been captured, these people that are being captured speaking, even thinking back to how they said they had no files, there was no evidence, there was nothing to see. That's 20 minutes ago. And now you look at the amount of times that your man Trump is named, and I've no doubt, I'd bet my life on it. You know, if it ever does everything come out, you know, there's no way they are like clean or with the right intentions or integrous human beings, 100% egotistical, driven by themselves. But the worrying thing is like, you know, what they serve and the system that they serve and the power within that system and the darkness that's involved in it at the nth degree. You know, all the stuff that people are seeing, they're starting to come through a wee bit now, but I believe it goes much further than that, you know. So it's that force, that effort, that sneakery, that trickery, that illusion in terms of what we've been sold as human beings. It takes work and effort. And the good news is, you know, the power that transcends that force, which is the divine power, which is what's coming through just now, how this is unfolding and how it's playing out. Even if it is, the ones that are doing it is with the worst of intentions. You know, if it's to bring people down, it's like, even, it doesn't matter how it's coming through, because a lot of times you can't see it. You can't see the will of God behind it, you know, like that's allowing these people. I believe many of them have been picked by the divine to play these roles and these characters, you know, so they can be found out, so the entire thing can come down. You know, so it's the timing's everything. It's a great time to be alive. It's the divine timing that's coming through just now, that's changing and allowing these possibilities for change to take place. And that's where it's really exciting, because there are so many, you know, that have been taken out. There's so many that have, you know, had lives that have been affected negatively. There's so many people, the casualties of war, you know, that have been through whatever it is, and are still living it. You know, when you go through something in childhood, you go through something, you know, whether it's in the army and you experience PTSD, whether it's something that happens outside and you're in the street and you witness something, whether it's something you see in the television, whether you see it online, These events have such a negative impact, on you literally can take it into your physical body. You see it within your mind, and you snap the picture, but then every time you think of that picture, then the chemistry is being created. So the prison, you're then inside the prison. Once the event happens, that's just the fucking start of it. Then from that point forward, what you're thinking about, how many times do people overplay and replay a really significant trauma that's happened in your life? And here's the thing, further down the road, when they get around about a therapist and the therapist gets them to relive it, this is why Richard Barney used to call them therapists, because when you relive that experience, you're actually going through it again. The unconscious mind believes that it's actually happening. So then it goes deeper and you're then looking at, like, eventually, not just being in the body, like stored in the body, because your nervous system is trained, and that stress that's released, that is very addictive. So then you become like, you're literally taking on that biology of someone that, when you talk about victim consciousness, talk about someone that's been through something, and that massive spike and the stress hormones that are released into the body when you're literally trying to save your life for many people. Then if you replay that event, if you make it through it and you're replaying that event, then you're recreating some form of that chemistry every single time you think about it. And that's what the dis-ease within the body comes from. The stress that's being generated and the impact, it doesn't need to be just on the specific area where it happened, especially for the sexual stuff, but it literally impacts every single cell within the body. You become compromised. And most people, because they're ignorant, don't know this. So then, is it any wonder the addiction start to happen? Is it any wonder, I talk to my community about breaking the chains. The amount of people that have been through stuff that they should never have made it through, and they get around about this work, and they start to see things from a different perspective. Their consciousness starts to shift. They start to learn things like, making sense of stuff, and eventually forgiveness, hopefully, and the transcendence that comes with that, the getting out the other side of that. It's about breaking the chains so they don't pass it forward. How many people, that have been through sexual abuse ended up becoming the sexual abusers further down the road? Because the damage has been done at especially done at a young age. It becomes who they are because they literally embody it, and they're thinking about it all the time. So is it any wonder that starts to become their behaviour? Of course it isn't it? So to break the chains, to give people that have got, possibly up to this point, have not had an option, they've not had a way out of it, that to me is something that's really saddening, because there's always a way. There is always a way beyond. No matter what it is you've been through, there is always a way. Because, once people get away from the system, even the system, some of it with the best of intentions, much of it with the best intentions, a lot of the therapists that are out there, a lot of the stuff they teach, it's with the best intentions. They go to their uni and they get their degree in psychology and pharmacology in terms of the medication that's required to try and help this situation. And you look at it and go, right, okay, so what's the evidence? Like, how is it working? You bring somebody in that's been like sexually abused as a child, and you bring them into therapy in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whenever it actually comes up, and then you start to go, right, let's relive it and let's talk about it. And then what's the options for getting beyond it once you've spoke about it till you're fucking, there's nothing else can be spoken? It's always a medication. That's the only thing that most of them have got, is to medicate you. And what does that do? Then you're changing the chemistry within your body. And especially these pills that are designed, many of them, to suppress the feelings and the emotions. So to basically, to bury it even deeper. There's no way to get beyond it. Then you're literally in the prison. You're in the jail. And for many people, they never get out of that. And that can be their entire life experience, never ever getting beyond one significant event that literally ruins their life. So the light that's coming through just now, if that system isn't there, in some way, shape or form, again, the truth needs to start coming out about that, in terms of like whether it works or whether it doesn't. Saw a thing last week that 30% of all deaths in America and the Western world comes from medicine, comes from modern medicine. You think is like, chemotherapy and radiotherapy and the amount of people that are misprescribed, even basic like combinations of different medicines. And then you think the stuff that's so readily available, and is told that it'll make you better or it'll help your situation. Many people are just popping pills every single day without even thinking, because a physician has told them this is the way to do it. That's one way of doing it. That's their way of doing it. Again, follow the money. Who benefits from that? The drug companies, the shareholders of the drug companies, the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, which is big business. How much money's involved in it? And you just need to look at, again, the evidence. Look at America. And how these doctors during the opiate crisis, which is still going to this day, It's just in different areas now, and there's different drugs that have came in behind that all over America. Look at the state of America and how these doctors were literally like, sat down and trained how to be salespeople so they could sell this magic pill. And these doctors, many of them with the best intentions, but if you're getting paid fortunes at the same time, then fucking win-win. You think you're helping somebody and you're getting paid a fortune for these companies, and you look at the damage that it done. You look at the damage that Oxycontin done to America. How many families are wrecked? How many souls were broken and decimated? So that whole thing is another part of this that needs to go. The whole thing needs to go. The whole system, the entire circus, the big top needs to come down. But it's then how we replace it. What do we build on the other side of it? And that's why I'm so excited just now. That's why, this work, the last nearly 29 years now I've been doing this work. And for the longest time, for the first 18, 19, 20 years, nobody knew about it. I was just basically working out for myself. I almost lost my life in 1996. That's how this started for me. And then very quickly realising, because we had everything. We didn't have everything, but we'd enough. Mum and Dad were very successful, coming for nothing. So I grew up, not quite with a silver spoon in my mouth, but we never lacked, didn't want for anything. And I had all the things, all the toys, all the trappings of success as a young man. It almost cost me my life. So then to go through my near-death experience, to come out the other side of that, and then to be drawn towards, first and foremost, personal development, and then spiritual development. For the last 29 years, I've been working on myself and preparing myself and learning stuff and experiencing stuff I would never have done if all of that, literal decimation that almost cost my life, if I didn't get through that, I would never have found this path that I'm on just now. And then looking where we're at in the world and watching what this does for people and how it helps people and what it actually is, then at that point, there is a way to fix this, but it's the divine way. There only is one way to fix this, and that is the divine way. During the week, I did a wee video, and again, there's so much evidence of people being drawn to this just now. People that are standing up and like looking for answers to questions that they probably never even knew they had. Many of them before COVID, that was the kind of start for a lot of people. They start to realise that, well, what the fuck's going on here? What is happening within this world? And now the questions that they're asking, and the starter for 10 is normally seeing the world and the horrors within it. So that level of consciousness, the truthers, realising that maybe it wasn't the way you thought it was, and maybe there's somebody to blame, for what happened to you in your life. And when you get to see that it's not just you, and that so many people have been negatively taken out and affected worldwide, then at that point people are asking different questions. And the truthers are starting for 10, seeing what it is, but then you've got to get beyond that very quickly. This is why I don't play with truthers. You need to get beyond that very, very quickly. I know how bad it is. You talking about it or bumping your gums every 20 minutes about how bad the world is or what they're doing, I know how bad it is. And there is a place for that. But once you see how it is, it's then you need to do something about it. And the challenge has always been, what do we do about it? Because you can't fight force with force. You're going to go against that, against them, with everything, all the toys that they've got at their disposal, the amount of people that have been taken out, the amount of people that have been literally killed, but even just talking about this information, to try and educate somebody and inspire somebody and give them the direct experience, which is the most important part in terms of the truth of their reality, and eventually, a part of that is to find out the truth of who you really are and all that you really are. And the way that was sold to so many of us, in terms of coming into this world as a human being, and the only way for me growing up, to be successful, to chase the stuff, to buy the things, to exchange your life and to work really, really hard and to be smarter than everybody else and get the things that are going to make you happy, the financial gain, the abundance that would come with your life when you get to experience a certain level of wealth, the toys, the cars, the house, the home, the fucking watches, whatever it is you're trying to chase. That's all ego, lower level consciousness. And the world was set up like that, and then you look at the other side of it, if you were lucky, in terms of you were born up in organised religion. For me, it was okay, what is God? God was a dude with a big beard and a Celtic strip that sat on a throne. And if I'd said my prayers every night and I confessed my sins of stuff that I'd done wrong, eventually, if I led a good life, by the time that I died, if God, would then judge me, and he would maybe let me into heaven. And then what was heaven? What is heaven? What's the concept of heaven? And then the other side of that was hell. And for Catholics, purgatory, which is the worst one of the lot, that's like a waiting room where you go when you die, and you're relying on them that you've left behind on planet Earth to pray for you. To somehow petition God to let you into this place, this like 7-star country club called heaven, that you get to do whatever you want for the rest of your life. That's what it was sold to as me. And then what I learned over the course of this journey, and what I discovered in terms of what the truth to be, and seeing how that in itself is such a huge part of that, what we've been missold in terms of, the truth of what it means to be a human being, and what it means to be part of this eco structure of like planet Earth, this environment that we're living in, and how we're actually part of that, and just the ignorance. And ignorance just means you don't know. When I call somebody ignorant, it just means you've never learned that you don't know. Ignorance is absolutely bliss at certain points of your life, but Jesus, Krishna and the Buddha said the same thing about the ignorant, and it's our only sin. Ignorance is our only sin. It's the only thing that's missing is information, education and awareness as to the truth of this reality we live in. Bruce Lipton, very recently I was watching him talking about how this should be heaven and earth, and I've always felt that. The possibilities, we've got everything that we need here, but looking at it just now, as I look out the window and I see the skies filled in with just whatever the fuck these things are that are not clouds, and I see, the pollution on the streets and in the rivers, and mankind has been polluted. This environment we're in is so toxic just now in so many different fronts, and that's not the way that it was meant to be. It's meant to be so much better than that. And the good news is, with the pain and the suffering, so many people are now standing up, thanks to the internet, thanks to the World Wide Web of information and inspiration, the news that's coming through. People are now standing up and going, right, okay, so this needs to stop. This needs to change. Whatever it is that you're doing isn't for the benefit of mankind or for us. And when you can see of how they're benefiting on the other side of that, it's an uprising. It's an uprising of the people of the world. That's what this is a time for. It's a time for uprising. And the way you do that is no with force. You can't fight force with force. They've too much. They've got all the bullets. They've got all the guns. They've got all the planes, all the weapons. So this uprising that needs to take place is a spiritual uprising. That's the only way we fix that. It's the power of that. And when I'm talking about the ultimate level in terms of when you go to the nth degree, it's the power of God. And this is divine timing that's happening just now. And then for people to actually understand what God is, because when you say God, so many people go, religion, he's a religious nutcase. And I'm like, fuck that. That isn't what this is. That's not the God that I know. That's not the source energy and information, in terms of the energy, as Abraham Hicks would say, the energy that literally creates worlds. It creates your eyeball, it makes your nails grow. Consciousness, that field of like infinite intelligence. And then the power behind that, the source behind that, which I would call God. Whatever it is that's controlling that, whatever it is that's allowing this life experience to unfold, and all the things that have been created between the trees and the flowers and the ducks, and the human mind and human consciousness, and whatever allows that life to be expressed through that. The power of that is that's the divine to me, that's God to me. So during the week, spirituality is the only chance we've got. My teacher, my master within the spiritual work, the man who is just so important to me just now, Babaji from the Sajmarg system, the natural path, the lessons that I've learned from him over the last 20, probably 25, 26 years, and many of the times I didn't know I was getting them, but when I became conscious over the last few years, in particular the last couple of years, and every single day just now, the direct link through him to the source, and knowing that the power that's in that and the goodness that's in that, it doesn't matter the kind of challenges within this world, because whatever created this world is responsible for it. The divine is responsible for this world. So at some point I've been hoping and praying for years that the divine would show up, and I don't mean like the second coming of Jesus. That makes me laugh, because Christ consciousness is everywhere just now. We don't need Jesus Christ to reappear. That man that they called Jeshua, who actually knew what God was and was able to tap into Christ consciousness in his lifetime, and taught from that place, and the miracles that took place, because he knew how to do it. He knew how to tap into the divine. He knew that he was the Son of God, but he also knew that you were the Son of God. And that's the bit they don't tell you. That's the bit that they don't sell. That's the bit that you've got to go to them, to go to Jesus, to get it through him. Again, it's organised. There's a controlling aspect of it. And in my experience, you can't get it that way. You might hear Jesus talking about it. Some people, God bless you, if you're waiting for Jesus to come again, to show up again, I can only imagine how hard that'll be when you talk about fucking blind faith, waiting for Jesus to show up again. But the Christ consciousness is there. The ability, because that field of quantum intelligence, that's everything that's ever been. So that's all the goodness. So if you want to get it, and then there is a way to do that. There is a way to tap in to the consciousness of Christ. I know people that are doing it every single day. The same as the archangels and the angels and the ascended masters and the saints. That's who I would term as light workers. When you talk about light workers, it's those that are here to help. Those that are here to help in this time. And when you understand the quantum field, and there's science to prove this now, this is the hardest science. This is no some hippie, fucking left-wing fairy talking about, like what I've seen in a vision or what was gifted to me in a meditation that nobody else can see. This is like the hardest science. When you talk about the quantum field and you talk about quantum physics, that's the most proven hardest science that there is. And they're saying the exact same thing. That which is seen does not come from that which fucking does appear. So there's a controlling influence, there's a controlling intelligence behind it that's basically allowing this energetic form, these vibrations to manifest as matter, the stuff that you can see. That's quantum physics. So there is a field that you can't see and you can't touch. And as Joe Dispenza said, I don't know how to explain it to you, like a materialist. It says, but there's this field of nothingness that's got a lot of something in it. And when you learn how to tap into that, which, what this is all about, that's certainly a big part of it, it's all about, to understand the miraculous, to understand the divine, to be able to tap into that quantum field, which is what we came through. If everything comes through it, then we must have came through it. But then to have a relationship with, not just that, but the energy behind that, the energy, that allows that to happen, which is God, then at that point you get to understand that there are some truths that make everything better. And it doesn't matter where you've been or what you've been through, or how affected you were, how damaged you were, how decimated and broken that you were. In my experience, the miracles that I've seen with this work is when people reconnect back to that. When they understand there's a different way of doing it, which in the beginning, that might be me selling it to them by like speaking my truth in terms of what I've been through. But then that goes for nothing. Talk is so fuck the talk. Talk is cheap. It needs to be the direct experience. And what I've always known is that divinity, that power that's carried within the field, that power of the divine, we absolutely came through it. Absolutely, no question, we came through it. And the most important part for you is that you carry it inside of you. You carry that power of God, that power of divinity, that essence of the goodness and the power, the love and the light and the grace that some people go, God, we carry that inside of you. We carry it inside our heart and inside our soul. It's called your spirit. You bring it into this world. And in my experience, when people reconnect back to that, when they experience the truth that's in that, then whatever it is, Joe Dispenza, they've got the science for it. This is why Joe Dispenza are fucking brilliant. They've got the science. When you understand what happens when you calm the nervous system and you breathe in a certain way and you bring your awareness into different points of your body, and you can get the heart to a certain level where it starts to vibrate and pulse in a certain way. They've got the scans to prove this. They've got the data to prove this. And then when you're able to get your brain into coherence at the same time, and then with the power of your awareness and the power of your intention, I intend, to leave myself behind, all the stuff that's happened to me, all the hardships, everything that I've been through, to give myself a break from that reality, the lower self, the third dimension. And you go into the fifth dimension or the sixth dimension, maybe the seventh dimension, and you experience what that quantum field is. And when people literally let go of all their stuff, all their stories, all their drama, the things that have happened to them, and they place their mind on that, then literal miracles take place. They can see it live on the scans. At the exact moment where everything gets into coherence, quantum shifts take place and healing takes place. Miracles take place. Why? Because you're tapping into a field of infinite possibilities where nothing goes wrong, divine perfection. And we try to fix stuff most of the time from the ego level of mind, based on the education that we've been given through fucking science and through such limiting, like the possibilities that they're able to prove. I saw a guy in the supermarket the other day, like raising money for cancer, and I'm going, God, Wayne Dyer, God does not know what cancer is. Joe Dispenza gets literal miracles, people healing, instant healing, like almost like you think of like spontaneous combustion, where you just burst into flames. Like spontaneous healing takes place when people let go of everything they're carrying and they become that field, when they become that divine field where the miracles are, the mind of God, that divine matrix, that love, light and grace. If you can reconnect back to the divine and you can literally surrender yourself to it and become it, as I experienced, through all the hundreds of thousands of hours of meditation, to experience union with it. That's why I did it. I knew that it was inside of me. My goal was to become enlightened. Enlightenment just means the direct experience, the knowing, not somebody telling you about it, the knowing of the divinity that you carry in. So to experience that, and then as I did, to become it. That's the real bit. It's like when it takes over you in such a way that you disappear and you take on the power of it and you literally become the field, then the miracles take place, the healing takes place, all of them, every single one of them. They can't not. It's like taking the candle into the darkened room. You bring that light into that, and that, but the memories and the stuff that's literally stored within your body and within your energy systems, within the different energy points in your chakras and your mind and your head. You bring in a different level of consciousness, one that's uncomprehendable, the power of it. You're talking about the power of the divine here, the power of God. That fixes everything it touches. That's what Jesus was doing. It was reconnecting people back to that. And that's available to everybody. That's the way and the path that's available to everybody. And that's the bit that's missing. So when I put that video up, Babaji, my teacher, only spirituality can save this world. And that's what I'm selling here. That's what we're pushing. That's what we're promoting every single day. The program's great. That's the foundations. That's the basic stuff to manage your life in terms of your physical human existence. Calming the nervous system, learning how to breathe. The significance of the ability to turn off your nervous system, which 70% of the world, slightly higher than that, is in a constant state of fight and flight and a constant state of agitated stress their whole life, including sleep, because they don't know. I was 45, 46 when I learned how to turn off my nervous system properly. Wim Hof method breathing, and then I sat in an ice bath and I came out and I was like, holy fuck, what's this? Everything was switched off for the first time since I've been probably 13 years old with that vaccine. Switched me on, hyper-stimulated my immune system, hyper-stimulated the system. My body was fighting against something alien to it. It's like autoimmune disease, I don't believe is a thing. The body does not fight against itself. It's what's in the body. So when I switched that off for the first time and experienced complete peace of mind, like holy shit, the whole world changed. Everything changed. And that's a starter for 10. That comes through breathwork and maybe a wee bit of cold exposure. But then, when you start to get a taste for it and you start to realise how you're able to feel and how you're supposed to feel, when you actually witness that and you get to live it, you experience, like, you can't think for the first time, you experience peace of mind for the first time. And then a wee bit of guidance to go from this and then to reconnect back into this, to get back into your heart, to start to think about opening up your heart. Again, that's impossible when you're in fight or flight. If you're fighting every single day, you're in that stress response mode all the time. Worried about your life, worrying about the fucking government, worrying about the bills, worrying about the uncertainty of the future for your wains or yourself. You're trying to put food on the table, you're trying to pay your rent or your mortgage. You're worrying about where you're going to get on holiday this year. You're thinking about the Wayne's birthday that's coming up and having the money for that. If you're in a constant state of survival, you're fighting all the time. So your body is responding based on the environment you're in and sending into you exactly what you need. So that's stress hormones. That's the things that actually lift you up and make you more able to deal with the dangers and the threats that you're facing every single day. And we're surrounded with threats. And most people never get away from them because they take them to bed and they're locked into their conscious and unconscious mind, and it's all they think about. It's all they think about, and every day becomes a fight. And that's literally living in the zoo. And then it's literally living in the jungle. Because when the walls come down and it's a free-for-all, when that environment, in terms of the tiger is next door to you and there's no cage between you and the tiger, you better be ready. So if you're in that constant state of fight and flight and constant state of stress, you're always in your head. Because the brain's job is to survive, is to find a way for you to get through this situation and survive. So at that point, is it any wonder that so few people have any idea what I'm talking about when I start to say, like, getting out of your head and getting back into your heart? They can't, because they're in their head. What do you mean talking, sit down and meditate? What are you on about? Like, the wolves are coming to get me. That's a time and that's the wrong time to sit and meditate. But the evidence for so many people, one of the first questions asked, like, how's it going? How is life working out for you? How is it manifesting in your life? And that's normally about how you feel. And then the dis-ease within your body and the dis-ease within your life, and many times the carnage that's in their life, because they're in that constant state. You're making decisions from that state when you're switched on. How many times do you send a text or a voice note or a phone call when you're angry? And as soon as you do it and things calm down and your nervous system slows down again, it's like, fuck, why did I do that? You're in the wrong state, you're in a heightened the brainwaves are literally in a heightened state of arousal, ready to fight. So that's why you respond in a certain way. And aye, there is times Of course there is. If my wife and Wayne's are under threat, or I'm under threat, or those that I love are under threat, there's a time to fight, of course there is. But if you're like that all the time, if you're under stress all the time, is it any wonder so many people are getting sick? Any wonder so many people are taking their lives with overwhelming because they can't handle it? All because they don't know how to switch off their nervous system. All because they don't know how to switch off their head. All because they don't know how to change their state. I witnessed this years and years ago. The short period of time I was working I was in Wishaw and helping people in that suicide charity. And I watched people, one or two occasions, I was out there fairly quickly because of the way it unfolded. But a young man got delivered to the door who tried to kill himself that morning, and he sat down and he was a bag of spanners, God bless his soul. And he sat and he told me, like, he didn't know what was reality. He didn't know the truth in terms of who he was or what he was capable of. He didn't know what was real and what was unreal. And just the next step was to go and take him to the hospital, drug him and basically tie him to a bed. That's the only thing, this state that he was in and what he'd been through that day. And I took him through some breathing for probably half an hour, 45 minutes. And his mum was there as well at the same time. And I watched, as did others in the room that day, I watched him reconnect and remember who he was. He literally went back into his body. And I swear to God, in my kid's life, at the end of the session, which was 45 minutes, he sat up and the woman that was running at the time said to him, what do you want to do with this? What do you want to do now? What's your options? And he apologised. And he said, I'm really sorry, I just want to get home and I'm hungry. So it became like normal again. From this heightened state of suicide and how that road and how that would have played out for him, like fucking, he probably wouldn't have been here just now. But simply through going through some like functional, at the time it was dysfunctional breathing, which is probably what he needed, a wee bit of the Wim Hof method breathing, and resetting his nervous system. But then, getting him out of his head, once that was switched off, that's not enough. Then to get him back into himself again, then to reconnect him back into his heart, then to remember him, help him remind himself how he's meant to feel, which might have never been in this lifetime. That's when the miracles take place. And I watched that man get up and go home with his ma, back to normal. So simple, so effective, something that everybody needs to learn. The ability to calm your nervous system, the ability to get out your head. It doesn't matter how bad it is. It doesn't matter how deep in terms of being suicidal or there's no hope or there's no way forward. I've seen it so many times. There is always a way. And the reconnection process back into the self, switching off the nervous system, remembering like who the fuck you are. And the mistakes that you've made, you might be made accountable for them later on, either in this world or the next. But to take your life because of the environment, because you're in ignorance and you didn't know how it went together. I've always felt like the biggest thing is people don't know what's available to them. People don't know the options and the choices they've got. We come into this world as divine perfection. Innocent, human beings are innocent, which means there's goodness in us. That means when somebody says this is how it is, then we normally believe them because there's goodness in us. And the ones that control us, they know this. And that's why they tell us lies. That's why they tell us a whole load of pack of lies to suppress us and keep us down. And ignorance is our only sin in terms of we don't know. So at this point in time, where we're at just now, when you understand and you're aware there's different ways of doing it, there's different ways of living and being, there are other answers. There's different ways to navigate, get your way through, the trouble that you're in just now. If you're in the point where you're almost drowning and you're at that place where there's almost no way forward, it's like to know that there is a way, to know that there is not just a fucking a lifebelt, but there's also a lifeboat, and that lifeboat can get you back to the island. I mean, you're back on the island, when you're back on and back on the land again. At that point, to do things in a different way, a way that has always been there, to know there's a different way to do it, and to know that it works. And to hear other people and hear their testimonials, this is one of the most exciting things for me just now with the Vortex, is the people and the testimonials within it. Some of the stories, I look at them and I go, how the fuck, thank God you're still here. But when I think back to their story the first day that I met them, it's like, oh my God, you were so lucky to make it through what you went through. And then, to be around about this information and inspiration and go through the experience and find a way to not just make better that, but to transcend it and get beyond it. To get to a place where, for many of them, myself included, that stuff that happened was the best thing that ever happened, because it allowed us, with all the pain and the suffering and the challenges that we faced, the heartbreak and the heartache and the decimation, you would never have found this path. Never have found this path. That's the only way that people get on about this work, because it's too hard. People are lazy. People want somebody else to do it for them, especially just now, being trained. The doctor's going to do it for you. The magic pill, that placebo, is going to do it for you. So people just take it. This new drug, Ozempic, fucking the skinny drug, I'm looking at people just now and going, holy, like, good fucking luck with that. Who knows what it's going to be like in 5 years? Who knows what that's going to do to your liver or your kidneys or your whatever it is? You're not getting it for free. You look at the people now in the last 10, 15 years that like, oh, that shit popped into their face. And it's like, holy fuck, man, what damage has that done? Like putting silicon, injecting that stuff into your physical body, it's probably not meant to be there. The body's perfect in every way, even if you don't like how it looks, or how it's aging, or what you're experiencing through it. But it's designed in a very specific way by something much cleverer than these fucking like scientists and beauticians and doctors. Like, fucking shame on them all. To think that they can make that better, to think that they can improve that just because of how it looks. There must be a payoff to that, because that, again, that is not the divine way. That's not how it's meant to be. And this time we're in just now, it's getting back to the way that it's meant to be. It's getting back to natural order. This is power versus force. The power that I'm talking about is the divine way. It's the way that it was set up, the way this world and this universe was created, which is in balance, it's in harmony. There's a reason for every single thing. There's nothing missed. There's nothing that's been created in this world that wasn't meant to be here. Maybe man, and bits of him, and some people at their low levels, maybe they're the ones that have fucked it. They're the ones that have brought it down. You know, so I've said for years and years, man is a parasite. The ego of man and what it serves, that's a parasite. That's what's literally drained this world. It's like blood-sucking, literal blood-sucking, these fuckers. You know, what they've done to the earth, what they've done to mankind. They've sucked the life out of us, literally. And now that we can see it, now we can see who they are, now that we know that things need to change, how are we going to do that? What's the way to do that? And there only is one way, and it's spirituality, and it's for everybody, because it doesn't separate, there's no division in it. Organised religion, that's another worry. The holy wars that are building just now, between the Christians being mobilised and, you know, the Muslims, and it's like you look at the world, you know, what's happening just now, they're weaponising religion. They want you to fight. They want you to fight against each other. They want Christians and Jews and Muslims and Hindus, and they want everybody to fight. They want the countries to fight. That's what the wars are about. It keeps us separated. It keeps us divided. But beyond all of that, beyond your belief system and your program and the house you were born into and where you grew up and the flag that you stand under and your birth certificate that tells you fucking who you are, beyond all of that, again, that's an illusion. When we start to remember and reconnect back through spirituality, through meditation, through awareness and direct experience, once we see beyond the veil, once we get out of the head and we start to get back into the self, back into you, that question, who are you? That question changed my life. Who the fuck am I? That was my number one question. My second question, what the fuck is this life experience all about? That's what's driven me for the last 29 years, to discover who I am. The real me, beyond Jim McFadyen, the guy, the stuff, you know, the family I was born into, my belief system, the things that I've had to deal with, all that. That's the stuff that I've had to do in this life. People think they're a father. People think they're an employee or an employer. They think they're a good guy or a bad guy based on the stuff that they do and the stuff they've done. And all that stuff comes and goes. Every single part of that will come and go. That's just the things in this lifetime. But the bit that you came in with from that quantum field, from the divine, that spark of life force that you carry inside you, that you've got in this life, so your life that's been expressed, you know, through this physical body, we came in with it, we carry it inside of us, and when we die, would it be kind of crazy to think that that would continue on? And this is something that I know to be a fact. I know because of my relationship with my mum. 6 years this Saturday coming, our anniversary since she died. And the moment she died, my hand was on her heart. I swear to God, my hand was on her heart. And I could feel her spirit, and I could feel it was time for her to go. And it was almost like, I believe, you know, at the time it was like, because I had an incredible relationship and a way to communicate with my mum that was through energy, and it was non-verbal, because we did energy work probably 5 days a week for the last couple of years of her life. She learned how to breathe, she learned how to meditate, you know, she learned a different way of doing it, because she'd left her religion a long time ago. She was a good Catholic growing up, but by the time she was she believed in something, but there was no practice there. And through guided breathwork and meditations and listening to Joe Dispenza, blessing at the energy centres and the generous present moment, which is why I still listen to it almost every single day. You know, the original generous present moment, he talks for about 10-12 minutes, and then it's just silence and music. And the amount of times me and my mum would connect in that moment, you know, heart to heart, soul to soul with each other, like like as one. as one, the way I'd experienced it, through meditation, experiencing union with the divine and the field and everything that there is, becoming the tree, becoming the nature, becoming it all. When I experienced that, then I could feel it when she was still here. And the moment she passed, the moment her spirit left her body, it was like an empty suitcase, but I could still feel where she was. And not every single day, I don't look for it every single day, but I know she's there. And I've experienced her in so many different ways, as have others within this group. People that have came in for breathwork, and they'll see her standing beside me. I can't see anything, which is unfortunate, but I feel her. So her spirit lives on, of course it does, as do, the ascended masters, those that went before us, those that are in spirit, those that are trying to help, they light workers. The ones that have died, the mums and the dads and the grannies and the granddads that are looking out for you, they're all still there, of course they are, just in a different way, in a different forum. So there's so many possibilities just now. This way of living and being, this divine order, this divine natural path is the way that it fixes it, and it's all about feeling good. It's all about feeling how we're supposed to feel, so for that, it's for everybody. The ability to switch off your head, the ability to calm your nervous system, the ability to sleep properly, to have awareness as to how good you can feel when you start to eat the right foods, like real food, and stop eating shite that's killing you. Taking away the caffeines, doing away with the energy drinks. Holy God, you have no chance. You have no chance. It's another brick in the wall, every single bit of it. Being aware of where you're spending your time, what you're putting into your mouth. Being aware of where you're spending your time, what you're putting into your brain in terms of what you're watching. You watch the circus. You get caught up in what Victoria and David are up to. You get caught up in fucking Andrew Tate or you name them, Prince Andrew, Epstein, Trump. If you're invested in that, if you're invested in what happens within that in terms of how it's going to go and who's to blame and who should pay for it, then they've got you. You're at that level. You're in the net. They've trapped you. They've got your attention. They're stealing your life force, literally. You've been invested in that. It's so far removed from how it's meant to be. So see it for how it is. That's what I do. I dip in and I look at it. And I give thanks to one or two people who I learn from, and they tell me how bad it is. I tune in now and again for 5 minutes, go, right, okay, it's getting worse and worse, great. What else do we need to do? Because we're at the same time as the circus is falling, we need to be thinking how we're going to build the other side. We need to be thinking of how we're going to do it, with this system, with a new, breed of people, a literal new breed of people, conscious human beings that are in it for the greatest good. That's the only way this works. And at that point, everything needs to get better, so everybody needs to win. And the way that we win is by doing it together. The way that we win is by looking back at the past and seeing how it's meant to be. Before it fell to bits. Before this industrial revolution, before this time we're living in with big business and big pharma and, the fucking internet and the control and all the ways that they control us. You need to look at who's in that. And once they're all gone, your man Bill Gates at 20 minutes ago is trying to do away with the sun, make plastic food. Elon Musk is another one, the whole thing with the robots and AI. These are all tools that can be used for good. But the people, in terms of their intentions of how they came in, we need to take the tools for them and give them to those that are genuinely invested in the greatest good, because that's the only way it's going to work. The only way it's going to work. And that reconnection process, it can happen in one session. It can. Once you understand how it goes together, once you know there's a different way of doing it, once you've had enough pain and suffering and you're tired of doing it in that way, at that point, if you're ready, and this is where timing's everything, you can't give this to anybody. You really can't. But enough pain and suffering and enough people are going to be looking, and it's almost like that 100th monkey effect. It is that 100th monkey effect. Enough people get this. Enough people reconnect and remember the power of the divine. Then it's just a matter of time. Through entrainment, the 100 monkeys, when one monkey started to use that behaviour, all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, when it got to the 100th monkey, not just the consciousness of the group, what do you call a group of monkeys? Squad of monkeys, the team of monkeys, that gang of monkeys, when the 100th monkey got it, it changed the consciousness of all monkeys on the planet. And that's what this is about. So it's not going to take the many, it's going to take the powerful few. And I don't know what that number is. It might be 10 million, it might be 100 million, it might be 1 billion, I don't know, to change the consciousness of this planet. What I do know is without the pain and the suffering, and this is why I'm so grateful for what's going on in the world just now, to those that have suffered, to those that have lost their lives, gratitude to them that went through whatever they had to go through to bring this out, to get to a point where this has to come out and the truth needs to be told. That's what we're moving towards just now. So these last days of winter, I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know how long the circus is going to keep it going, but it is coming down. They will be replaced. It's time, it's happening, and it's now. And at that point, you know, the way is the way. There is only one way to get the world back into balance, to get it back into harmony, to get it back into the way that it's meant to be, realignment with Mother Nature. To think we used to be able to drink out the rivers and eat the fish, you know, and live off the land. Soil degradation now, what they've done to the rivers, what they've done to the fish, you know, what we've done to this environment. It's one of man's biggest sins. What we've done with the poisons that are spewed into this planet every single day, the waste that's taking place because of the way that we do it, and we're all responsible for that. So there needs to be a cleaning process. Again, all we need to do is stop doing the things we're doing. In Mother Nature, the planet will heal and repair itself, no question whatsoever. It'll get taken care of. It knows how to do it. That infinite consciousness, there will be a way, and there'll be people that can help that. Brilliant minds that are tuned in and find new ways of doing things to recycle the shite that we've been spewing into the land and into the sea. Every time I drive by the landfill sites, I throw up. You know, because it's like we're burying it. So how long do we get to bury it before there's no more space left? Before we're living in a fucking dump? Living in a toxic waste site? And that over the next 20, 30, 50, 100 years. So that needs to change very quickly. So the whole thing needs to go. And a new way of living, being and doing has to come in. And that's why I'm excited. That's why I'm excited, because the divine way is the only way to do it. Spirituality is the way to do it. You know, understanding through direct experience, knowing through direct experience the goodness that you carry inside you, the goodness that you brought into this world, the goodness that you carry inside your heart and inside your soul, the real you, your spirit. That can happen in one session. That can happen just by turning off the brain, de-escalating the stress, giving yourself the chance to stop and to let go and to reconnect back inside the self, back into your feelings, back into your emotions, the ability to open up your heart, to feel something in a different way before you even start. Like just switching off the stress can be enough. But then with intention, starting to remember how we're supposed to feel. You know, starting to, like, feeling grateful can change your life. Experiencing giving thanks. Just giving thanks can change your life. Because it's a different vibration from being in fight, from being in that fucking state of shite, you know, from being in those low levels of survival and decimation. When you get out of that and you switch off the stress and you're able to think in a different way and feel in a different way, just by feeling grateful for the simplest things, it can be the dug. It can be the dug. And then we start to grow. Then we start to expand beyond that. And there's so many positive emotions, so many positive feelings that make everything better. From gratitude, it's very easy, you know, to start to get things like appreciation. You know, and then from there, like, remember what it feels like to feel good again. When's the last time you felt good? For some people, they've never felt good. Some people can't remember the last time they felt good because of something that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. And that's who they became, because that's how they've been living. Because they didn't know how to fix it, didn't know how to switch it off or turn it off or make it better. This makes it better. Because when we reconnect in, when we get reconnect back into the heart, back into the soul, that's the bridge to the divine. Meditation. Joe Dispenza says he looked it up, and it means to become familiar with. And I looked it up and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then I got it eventually, and it's from Tibetan Buddhism. And it means to become familiar with the self. It means to become familiar with awareness. It means to become familiar with the true essence of our nature and who we are. That's what it means, to become familiar with that. To know that, how to know the self. Spirituality is the way to do that. Meditation is the only way you get that. Contemplation is great, thinking about it and working your way through it is great, but it's the meditation, it's the going inside and being able to switch this off and being able to get into this and then to reconnect to that and then to reconnect to that, the divine, to God. And to know that alignment, Abraham would call that, to be in alignment, to be in the flow state of that, to feel that power, to know that you carry it inside of you, to know that you carry a piece of God inside of you, to be still and know that I am God. That's literal. Might not be the full thing, but I absolutely carry it inside of me. That's what I discovered. And the next part that I knew was that if it's in me, it must be in everybody. And when you reconnect to that with intention and awareness, to be in alignment, when you tap into it, when you simply sit and hand it over and stop thinking and stop worrying and stop being you in terms of the low-level self, when you start to become it and you start to allow that in through the surrender process, then you take on the power of it. And when you take on the power of it and you become it, that's where the miracles take place. That's where inspiration, to be in spirit, to be inspired, to be joyful, to be everything that is. The infinite field of endless, limitless, like boundless, endless possibilities. What is that? You're talking about the love and the light and the grace and the goodness that is God. That is literally God, the divine. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter what you call it, it's the divine. Divine in nature, divine essence. And we come through that and we carry that inside of us. And when you sit in meditation, to experience union with it, to get into union with the divine, and to take on the power of it. Now that's a power. It doesn't matter the force that's in this world. It doesn't matter the low level of all the satanic fucking horribleness, all the darkness. The power of the light, the goodness of the divine, it transcends everything that it touches. And that's why it needs to be spirituality. That's why Babaji said, spirituality is the only chance we've got. Only spirituality can heal this world. Because we come together with ourselves, we remember the self, we reconnect back to Mother Nature, we reconnect back to the quantum field, and then we reconnect back to the divine. And in that process, we reconnect back with each other. Because at a certain level of experience, for me, a quantum experience that I had, I became everything. And I became everybody. You can't explain that in words. That sounds mental. But more and more people are having similar experiences. That was for me 18 years into my journey. When I realised that we're all connected, that's why I use the term brother and sister. Because at a certain level, we are literally all one in this quantum soup, this quantum field that you can't see. And that's the truth. These are literal scientific facts. So at that point, when we come together in that field and we know the true power that's available to us, the inspiration for the solutions, the way out of this, the way to make it better, the way to deal with those, like leave them to God, put them on their fucking island and fence them in, and give them enough food and water to see out their lifetimes and see what happens. Use it as an experiment, film it and watch what happens, as a warning to how the biggest challenge and the biggest danger that human beings have ever faced, it was this. These are the ones that done it. All the kings, all the queens, all the fucking royals, all the ancient sacred fucking bloodlines. Stick them in the one place and film it and watch what they do to it. Watch how they live. And then use it as an example of how not to do it. And at the same time, we can get back on with it and rebuild this world and get it back to the way that it's meant to be. It's inside of us. It's inside you. The divinity you carry inside of you. And the way to do it is a spiritual practice. The way to do it is with intention. I intend, which normally comes on the back of decimation. That's just the way that it goes. Pain, shame, blame, horribleness, hardship, a fall for grace, losing everything. If you're at that place, that's a great place to be. Because then you will do what's required. You will then do the work. And it is work. It takes work every single day. But it happens very quickly. It can happen so quick. And you can start to live your life in a different way. You can start to bring in different practices that you never even knew existed. You can start to experience feelings and emotions of how you're meant to feel. You can start to fucking smile and be happy and enjoy your life. The joy to be alive is something I'm experiencing a lot just now. I'm so grateful for this life. So grateful for the opportunities that I've had, the pain that I've been through, the lessons that I've learned, and now the information and the inspiration that I've got to help other people. I'm so grateful. So grateful when I watch what it does to people. When I see people coming in inside a really short period of time. Did a post this morning. My brother Ross down in Australia, well done son, well done to you, what you've achieved in the last couple of years. If you knew where he was and his environment and then what he's went and done and who he's became, living and working in Australia now, just fucking helping people, doing his work. You know, so there is a path. And I could tell you a dozen stories of people who have came in and they got on the programme and they bring it into their life and they do the work required. Their work, whatever it is to get them a smile on their face, whatever it is that they need to do within that programme, their programme, these tools and techniques that I've worked out. And they're not my techniques, it's my spin on them, it's basic techniques, it's fundamental techniques that enable us to feel better, you know, to learn how to live better, to learn how to expand and enjoy your life and fulfill your potential. That's what it's all about. So once you understand the basics, then it's like, what do you need to do? Because human beings, free will is the biggest thing. We are blessed with free will. That's also the biggest curse that we've got. That's why the world's fucked, is because of free will. There's a divine way, and then there's your way. There's the ego way. And at this point in time, there only really is one choice. There only is one choice. It's the divine way, because the human way doesn't work. And it's whether we're going to be able to rise up and make the choices that are required, that need to be made. Not the ones you should make, the ones that we need to make to get this world back on its feet. The ones that's going to preserve this world for our children and our grandchildren and the generations that come after that. There's a huge responsibility just now with us here just now that understand how this goes together. And there's so many already. And there's so many that are coming and are available and ready to bring the world back to the way that it's meant to be. So that's really exciting. It's the truth that sets us free. This is all the truth. This is the truth. There is a truth. There's an essence within you. There's a power within you. There's a goodness within you as a human being you brought into this world, and you've been separated from it, and you've been kept from it by design. In these times just now, because of the world and the way that it is, we're now going to get an opportunity to rise up and to reconnect and to remember who we really are, all that we really are. When you say, who are you? Again, that's so limiting. It's all that you are. To know that you are that piece of the divine, to know you are a piece of consciousness, to know you are a piece of the collective. To know that everything's going to be okay when you start to live in that way. To be so caught up in it. To be so taken with it, with the experience. Words will never do it. To get the experience of meditation. To feel the love of God in your heart. To feel the light and the grace and the goodness of the field. The power in that field, whatever it is, you can't explain it in words. You need to experience it. You need to feel it. You need to know it. And once you get to know the power behind that, once you understand the power of God and the power of the divine, the source, and to know your relationship with that, and to tend to that relationship every single day. Since I started this journey, 1997, 1998 probably, I started meditating. I have never missed a single day. Why would I? It felt to me like I was going home. Felt like I was walking home. Ramdas, we're just walking each other home. That's what it feels like. But to actually almost die in this lifetime and get it before you need to die and go and really get it. Because once you die, you get it straight away. Back into spirit, you're there. Back into the field. But to get it in this lifetime, that's what enlightenment is. And to know there's still work to be done. It's like the Buddha's quote, what happens after enlightenment? Fucking before enlightenment, you wash the bowl. Fetching wood and washing... fetching wood and washing the dishes. What's the thing? It's escaped me just now. After enlightenment, chopping wood and washing the dishes. It's the same thing. You get to live in a different way. You get to live and bring a different life force and a different energy into this world. And by you becoming it, by you becoming more loving and giving and compassionate and empathy for the world and the people that are suffering, by you being the light, by forgiving and letting go and transcending all the stuff that you face, by breaking the chains and becoming who you were meant to become, other people will be attracted to that. Other people will go around about that. And more people, when we start to live in that way, it's all good. It's all good. There's nothing to worry about. And for me, I realised last week I've achieved what I set out to achieve. My intention was to be a man of God. My intention was to serve God. And I do that for 99.9% of my life, living and sleeping, awake and sleeping. When I live, I'm a soldier of God, a literal soldier for the divine. I'm here for the light. I'm here to help. I'm here to bring in a new age and help people that are suffering or struggling discover a different way of doing it and to know who they are, to know the truth, to see beyond the veil, to become familiar with that truth, to use the power of awareness and to understand the real truth, the bit that's nothing's missing and that we are divine and we're capable of so much more. And also the second part of that was to help other people reconnect back to that. That was the second part of my goal. And I realised that I'm like, holy fuck, I'm already living that. That's what I do. I'm a spiritual teacher. I reconnect people back to the divine. The program's there for the physical stuff and all the basics, but once you get beyond that, once you're spinning the plates and you're actually making your way through life the way that it's meant to be, then that internal journey, and that's a lifetime's journey. That's an eternal journey. The journey of the soul never stops. Always expanding, always growing. It never stops. So that's exciting. To think you're never going to die, because that's an illusion. To think that once this lifetime is done and dusted, then you get to kick on and go again. Maybe you come back here. I hope to God not. I certainly know in this way. The human experience is no easy. But who knows what's after that? So it's an eternal journey. There's no finish line. So at that point, you get to enjoy it a wee bit more. For that point, the pressure's off. It's because up to that point, you're always trying to get to the finish line. You're trying to achieve certain things in this life. You're trying to set your goals and fucking tick them off. And you miss the experience in the process. And when you reach the goal, what's the first thing you do? What's next? There isn't any end to that. 5 minutes of fulfillment, or you get that feeling, I've achieved it, and then it's okay, so what's next? The next motor, the next house, the next fucking holiday, the bigger, better watch, more money in the bank. It never ends. Another illusion. Designed to be set up that way, always trying to get something external to you. And the real gold, the real power, the stuff that you can't buy with money, it's inside you. You experience it by going inside. And this world inside is way greater and way more powerful than anything you see on the outside. The things of this world, the third dimension, the stuff that's going to come and go, none of it's real. Not a single thing's real. Nothing's real. And the bit that's inside of you, that's the bit that's real. That's the bit that's eternal. That's the bit that can never die. So that's the only thing that's real. And tapping into this field, tapping into the source, tapping into God, that's the bit that's real. Learning a relationship with that, being able to live in coherence and in alignment with that. It's a joy to be alive, it really is. It's wonderful and so grateful in so many different ways for every single bit of it. For those that stand beside me, for those that are on this path, the team, the inner circle within the vortex, within the different groups within the vortex, the community, the people that are showing up every single day, that are doing the work, doing the meditations, bringing light into their lives, into their houses, into their communities, into their work, into the world. It's a matter of time. There's so many people being drawn to it now, all over the world, so grateful, so blessed. All glory to God. It is all glory to whatever that is, the power that's in that, the goodness that's in that. That's what I stand for, because that's the only thing that I know to be the truth, and it's the thing that makes everything better. And I know that I came through it, and I know that this world it's the one thing, and it's the biggest thing that's missing. It's been taken from us. Organised religion, come to us and we'll give it to you. Allow us to get it for you. And you don't get it in this lifetime, you'll get it when you die. So what a fucking sales pitch. You're not going to get it till you die. Like, holy shit, so I need to go to heaven. But, the kingdom of heaven is within you. A big Bible quote, to really understand what heaven is, and to experience it and to live it every single day and every day for the rest of your days. That's what it's all about. That's what this is all about. It's darkness to light, it's power over force, it's the truth, and it's the light, and it's the way. And for anybody who is struggling, know there is a way in this time of great awakening. As we move out of winter time, the winter of discontent doesn't even cover it. What the winter this world has been in for how many centuries, the deaths, and I even think of the British government and the British Empire and all the empires, and the American Empire just now, the death that has created and caused, and the wars and the conflict, and the people that have suffered. Their days are done. Their days are over. It needs to come down. It's coming down. And the new way is coming in, the divine way, back into balance, back into harmony, back into coherence, back to the way that it's meant to be. And that's really exciting, so get excited, stay in the light, keep doing your best, keep showing up every single day. If you're interested in this work, come and play. It's an open door. You'll know very quickly whether it's for you or not. It's based on the principles of Mother Nature, the foundations, the building blocks of how it goes together. We're talking about breathwork and relaxation and sleeping properly, and feeling good and being aware of what you're doing to yourself and being aware of what others are trying to do to you, and then using basic tools like intention. Like, I intend to become better. I intend to make this better. I intend to make myself better. I intend to take responsibility for my life and every single thing that comes in it and comes through it and through to me. And know that it's basically a direct reflection of what I'm expecting, of what I'm thinking about, of how I'm making my way through the world. You're getting it back. That is the law of attraction. Your life right now is a direct reflection of every single bit of you. Your personality becomes your personality. Joe Dispenza 101. It's perfect. What you expect, what you think, who you think you are, what you expect the world to provide for you, that's what you get back. So this life is all about expansion. The universe is always expanding. We human beings, we should be looking to change and to become better, to fulfil that potential. My worry when I stand before God is she goes, how did you do? And the one thing that I want to say is I did my best. I did my absolute best every single day. That's all you can do, to simply do your best. But if you don't know what's available and you don't know that there's a best that you never knew about, there's possibilities of living in a different way, then again, that's ignorance. So to learn these tools and techniques, to bring in the power of intention, to go on a journey of self-discovery, to discover the self, to discover the truth. And then once you get it, on that path and on that journey, eventually you get self-mastery. You will master the self, you'll master the lower self, and you'll understand the higher self, the true self. And at that point, you get to help. Once you get to that place of mastery, then you get to take it to the world. Then it isn't about you anymore. Then you're not still working out for yourself. You've transcended all the illusions, or the traps, or the tricks that you had to go through. Then you get to help other people. One of the biggest challenges that I see is people trying to help other people when they're not qualified, and one, they're not ready, because they're still trying to fucking work it out for themselves. I watched it 100 times in here with cold exposure. Guys would come in that were basket cases, and women. I would teach them how to get into the cold, switch off their nervous system, reconnect them back to their heart, teach them how to meditate, and then they'd leave here and became fucking gurus. And then they're teaching literally verbatim the words that I'd given to them days and weeks and months before, as if it was them. And I'm looking at them going, yous are fucking still mental. Because they think that it's them. Time of great awakening. So much goodness in this world. It needs to be for the greatest good. All the people that are still in it for themselves, God bless yous, it can't be about you anymore. This needs to be about the greatest good. This is why spirituality is about unification. It's everybody rising together. There's nobody greater than anybody else. We're all at the exact same level, children of God in this lifetime. So we all need to rise together. Everybody's valuable, everybody's vital, if you're in it for the greatest good. If it's not about you anymore, if you're at that place of mastery and you're looking forward to, you're looking to help, and you're looking for ways to help, and you've got an ability to help by bringing in the divine ways. This is why the ancient ways, Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, like contemplation, going inside, balance with nature, the Tao, the eternal way, getting into balance with that, the way that it's meant to be. No, this bullshit they've sold us now. That's short-term gain for the few, the career politicians and the owners, all with the intention to keep us down. This is all about suppression, so that they can get it. They know this stuff. They've got all these secrets, they know this stuff, they've got this. They understand it, they're just using it for the wrong measures. They're using it for the wrong way. The wrong gains that they're making is because they're using it for themselves. Again, the ego is so tricky. And that's why this time that it's coming in, this way that's coming through, is the divine way. It needs to be for God or it's not going to work. And that's the choice that we've got. So, loads of good stuff going on just now within the Vortex. The gift is out, it's live, thanks to those that have tuned into that. Anybody who serves teaching profession, obviously kind of National Health Service, the ambulance service, the police, the fire service, military, anybody who's there and helping other people as part of their job, even light workers, the light workers who are helping other people. I was thinking that this morning, come and get it. It's a free gift. There's 4 or 5 videos. It's an introduction to the work that I do. It's an entry level experience, a wee bit of breathwork, trying to get a flavour of what it is that I'm doing here. And that's available now, free of charge. Tap into the app, download it, and start to receive access on your phone to guided breathwork, calm your nervous system, how to get to sleep, how to experience peace of mind, relaxation, wee bit of meditation, and then see where your journey goes for there. Also, within the Vortex, so much good going on. Really grateful for the programme members and everything that's up within the programme. It's taken off just now in so many different ways. So many people have been attracted just now in so many different ways, being drawn towards it. And that's because of what I'm doing and because of what the team are doing, the inner circle, those that are in those meditations every single day. They're the ones that are taking it to the world. They're the ones that are sharing this gift, in their workplaces and passing it on to different people that they feel could need it. So it's happening in so many different ways just now, and grateful for every single bit of that. It's a great time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be alive. I've always known and felt that we get to usher in a new age and way of being, and so grateful for the way that it's coming down. So grateful that at this point not many people have been harmed the way that I feared it was going to go, and hopefully we can get a safe transition and a smooth transition through this with as little and few casualties as possible, and then we can start to rebuild it on the other side. That's my desire, that's my dream. All glory to God for the greatest good always and all that is divine. God bless you and yours. Take it easy. Peace out. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.